Salute Knicks Nation. The streets are buzzing. Tonight we've got a signing to talk about with the chat. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, Knicks family. The New York Knicks have made an agreement with Marjon Beauchamp, 6'7" wing, on a two-way contract. Formerly of the Clippers, Milwaukee Bucks, was involved in a trade earlier in the season, going from Milwaukee to the Clippers for KPJ, and the Clippers have cut Beauchamp, and he's looking for new opportunities. And the Big Apple has come calling, and we reinforce our wing stocks. I think it's a great move. Let's talk about it. Welcome in. Knicks Buzz. Salute to the chat. Julian, Rugby, Malik, great to see you guys. Big up to the chat and Knicks Nation. We're going to talk about this signing and more to come. The Knicks have another two-way spot available, and also they do have a full 15th free agent veteran minimum spot that they can fill, and Leon Rose has made one good move already. Kevin's in the building. Daniel, what's up, guys? How do you feel about this move? It's a two-way contract, which means that we don't know. It's going to be for the rest of the season. Maybe they've offered him multiple years. But obviously for the rest of this season, it's going to reinforce our wing stocks, you know, and I think he's going to bring that size, 6'7", defense first. Great pickup, man. A lot of people are reacting to this one and liking the move. So he's already been on a two-way contract, and as we know, those come with some games restrictions. Beauchamp will be eligible and active for 12 more of the remaining 22 games, right? And then when the playoffs hit, I believe everything resets. But the Knicks could still convert him later. They can cut someone to the second last day of the season. Maybe they do end up cutting Dolan right. But we'll look at the highlights as well. David M, Wayne, Dermot, what's good, fam? We're breaking down the breaking news that the New York Knicks have added a defensive wing, and a lot of people saying great pickup. Christian Winfield of the Daily News says this was a no-brainer. Absolutely, you know, and I got to think that his agent maybe with the Clippers was thinking, look, you know, if you're not going to use him, maybe cut him and he can find himself on a playoff team. And I think Leon Rose has obviously gone with the highest pedigree in terms of a player available, fitting the bill, you know. We're in a situation now, guys, where we're arming up, right, for the playoffs, and our reinforcements are here. And I really think that obviously he's not going to get minutes early on, but you never know, you know, when things happen, injuries, you know, we've got 22 games left in this season. He's going to be able to come off the bench, eat some minutes, and really solidify our defense. Because, yeah, he's a guy that plays great defense, right? His offensive game, you know, he's got ways to go. As we pull up some highlights. 6'7" wings that are athletic, can finish in transition, man. They don't fall out of the sky, right? And obviously he's going to need more development to be a ready-made rotation piece moving forward. But, you know, the Knicks could have done way worse than this, right? Obviously waiving Jake Toppin and Matt Ryan. Marjon Beauchamp is a couple of years NBA experience. The shots shown signs of improvement as he hits some open shots there. Some creation ability, but catch and shoot and 3-and-D is what it's all about. Fam, Landry Shamet been playing well recently, but obviously he's, you know, struggled to find his shot at times, but he's undersized. You know, we saw that against Cleveland. We saw that against Boston as well in those recent huge games. But Marjon brings, you know, true wing size. He can play the 3, the 4, and he can definitely guard with his big wingspan on bigger matchups. So, yeah, he was traded from the Bucks to the Clippers. Kevin Porter Jr. has been playing well for Milwaukee, but he just couldn't find minutes. You know, consistency with Milwaukee. The Clippers didn't keep him around, you know, and the New York Knicks, the development staff and the guys that we have, the locker room, I think it's a great location to get something out of Marjon Beauchamp, a guy who is going to be a guy that Tibs loves. Defense first. He's got really good um, size. Strong, and he's athletic as well. Um, Mets, Moses Brown, no word yet. So, yeah, stay tuned. We'll bring you up to speed. The New York Knicks will add 2 more players. They can add 1 more two-way guy, and they can add another veteran as well. So we'll see what plays out tonight. CWC says the streets are buzzing. Wayne says he's a capable scorer too. Yeah. Great flyer, man. Great opportunity to take on this guy because he feels the need. He's got a couple of years NBA experience, and word is that the New York Knicks were really looking at him in the draft. Going back 3 years, the New York Knicks liked his pedigree, and it's not hard to see why. If you can get consistent knocking down that shot, and he can be in that situation where he can develop, play some minutes with the G League, and obviously maybe next season be a really valuable rotation piece. But for the rest of this season, reinforcements is the key word I'm looking out for. We need defenders. We need guys that can come in and play some good defense, use their size. Whether he comes in and impresses the coaching staff, that'll give him an opportunity to maybe get an opportunity later as the season progresses. But great contract for a two-way, and we'll see what else shakes out. I do think Moses Brown, is a guy that we should add as well. We know Ariel Huck-Portier is out, guys, and we do know that Mitchell Robinson's had a hell of an impact in these 2 games, right? So getting another guy of that mold to play next to Cat would be a really, really good look. Drafted by Milwaukee, they failed to develop him. And he obviously didn't stick around in LA, a cup of coffee. So we'll see, man. Dirty Dancer says, I like it. Get these bad rebounders out of here. Nelly Nell, salute. Sneaky good pickup, and it's up to the Knicks development staff. But, you don't get drafted in the first round for no reason. He's got bigger tools in terms of size, length, and wingspan over a Quentin Grimes. I know that, the Knicks draft scouts really did like Marjon Beauchamp. He's a really high character guy. Very righteous, puts God first. He'll make that clear when he's interviewed, but, he comes as a good locker room guy as well, all the talk. But obviously we're signing him for his basketball talents, and it was just a great pickup, no-brainer. It says Christian Winfield. Now, the New York Knicks have officially moved up now to 5 in the NBA.com power rankings. The newest team to join the 40-20 club as well, man. In these 22 games, the New York Knicks will solidify a top 3 seed, possibly second. What do you guys think? I said last night that the New York Knicks don't really need to push all out to get that second spot. It would be advantageous, but to the detriment of some injuries and, higher minutes, I think the Knicks could chill, get that 3rd seed on ice, and get ready for what's going to be a big first round. Nelly Nell says, this is a sneaky good signing. We need an athletic wing. Now we need a big after the Huck-Portier injury. Yeah, I like it. I agree 100%. And I'm just going to check his age because I do think Marjon Beauchamp would be around 25. Yeah, 24. So he's 24 until the start of next season in October. So, got a lot of years ahead of him. That's the kind of high upside talent that you want to add, on a 2-way contract. We've been messing around a little bit. No shade on some of the guys we've signed previously, but they just haven't worked out on the 2-way. And the 2-way system is supposed to be, kind of like a farming system where, ideally those guys grow up to join your rotation, and this guy has a very high pedigree. As we got news earlier today as well, Jalen Brunson named the East Player of the Week together with Zach LaVine from the Sacramento Kings out west. So congrats. What a week it's been for Jalen Brunson, man. 30 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and a 3-0 record. You love to see it, man. The cap is starting to warm up for the playoffs. As Warren says, we need a defense more than offense. Yeah, absolutely. And I think this will definitely balance the roster out a little bit. As Landry Shamet's starting to hit some shots recently, maybe it's all to do with the shoulder, injury and, shaking off that kind of rust. It was a significant injury that Landry had faced. He's starting to hit some shots. Campaign, money when he gets into the paint with the floater. A little streaky on the perimeter, but Deuce McBride, obviously, we saw last night the story of the night, 30 minutes for Deuce. Mikal Bridges benched through key stretches as well. So, yeah, these 22 games are going to reveal a lot with Tibbs' hand coming into the playoffs. But it's good to see that Leon and I think Tibbs are on the same page in terms of what this roster needed. Because as Warren said, we needed a little bit more size and defense, and Beauchamp addresses that. He's got some years of NBA experience as well, right? So we don't know. Maybe Tibbs wouldn't hesitate to throw him out there after a few practices. He's played serious NBA minutes, but he just hasn't been able to find consistency. But yeah, Milwaukee obviously won a championship early on a few years back. They had a stacked rotation. His contract basically came to an end, and they just didn't want to reinvest. Right, it happens. But he finds a new home, new surroundings, and I do think we can really get something out of him. Albeit at the very least, a defensive wing that can come on for possessions. D up for 10 minutes. I think he's an upgrade defensively over Shamet, defensive upgrade over Dolan Wright. And I think he would slot perfectly right next to Deuce and Campaign. The way I'm seeing it. Now, it might not happen until later in the season, possibly next season, but it's worth a shot. I think definitely the New York Knicks got a big talent upgrade in this one. As we continue to get your reactions, G Money says Broadway bully Brunson Bulldog has been brilliant. JB has been Brunsensational. You've been hanging out with Clyde. Dirty Dancer said I'll probably go with Mo Bamba over Moses Brown. Give the New York guy one last shot. Harlem native Mo Bamba. So surprised that he just been bouncing around so much and hasn't had that chance. But if I'm going off recent form, I do think Moses Brown's been playing better recently. So maybe they do go with the guy who's more seasoned right now for the season and a guy's in form. But yeah, I wouldn't be mad with either. I do think it's just going to be an insurance policy. Hopefully Mitch stays healthy and is able to just get his minutes up and continue to be a factor, man. Last night, big offensive rebound, kick out to Mikal, then the kick to OG for the big time 3 as well. So I think, the stars are aligning, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting back a little bit of that identity from last season with Mitch's return together with the offensive mindedness of this season's team as well. Now, we also had word coming out of JB himself, man, the roommate, the newest guest on the block. You guys have probably seen it already, but man, this came out of left field. James Dolan, the owner, set to be the latest guest on the roommates pod. How are you guys feeling about this? Right. This is going to be very interesting. Salute buzzer beater. D Grant says Mo Bamba is no game. He falls apart on D. Nelly says exactly, he's a dog defensively. Yep. we need some dogs. We saw the DOG last night, the OG pulling out the D, and definitely we need some guys with that mindset. He rolled his sleeves up, pulled his shorts up last night, did OG, and reminded us that we are going to see another level of these players. When the playoffs hit. You know, Look, we all took a blow with these bad losses to Boston and Cleveland, and the fans chirping. But I said it to some Cleveland and Boston fans. Look, those guys have a great roster, and they deserve to be favorites. But don't think for a second that the New York Knicks team that we saw against them isn't going to be improved when we play them in the playoffs, or if and when we face them in the playoffs. The level goes up, the intensity goes up. Uh, Ideally, you don't want to wait till then to flip the switch, but some players are just wired that way. Some players are wired where these games mean something, but they don't mean as much. It's natural. It's normal when the games are more meaningful, and you turn it on. Obviously, we've heard the talk. There's been a lot of trash talk that the New York Knicks are frauds and they can't compete on their level. But there's been some different circumstances. We played Boston without OG. We've played them without Mitchell Robinson. Obviously, you start with the obvious. The other thing is Tibs. Really, we go as far as Tibs and his decision making at times as well. Not afraid to bench Mikal Bridges now, playing Cat less minutes with Mitchell Robinson's return, and a sneaky big move taking Precious Achua out of the rotation. Right, not a lot of people speaking on that, but obviously he's happy with his guards off the bench, and he's more wanting to go with more size with Cat, Mitch, and more mobility out on the perimeter. Landry Shamet. Basically, I look at Landry Shamet as that guy that's taken Precious Achua's minutes at this current stage, because I would have guessed that it would have been campaign, Miles McBride, Precious, and Mitch off the bench. But it's been Payne, Deuce, Shamet, and Mitch. So will that continue? You guys let me know your thoughts. I'd be curious to know. Do you think Precious Achua is going to see more time against bigger lineups? D says, I wanted Moses Brown and Chuma Okeke. The hope is still there. We can still add one more two-way contract. I would guess that it is going to be at least one of those two. TJ Warren might get the final veteran 15th man, but I do think Moses Brown has a shot, and Chuma Okeke. Sheffy Jr. says, I've always been a fan of Beauchamp. His career hasn't panned out the way I thought it would. I like this pickup far more than the TJ Warren pickup, personally. Salute Bob. I see you all in the building, and Paula. Great to see you guys. Bless up everyone, and I hope your day's been great. This personally came as some great news to me, pleasant surprise. I do like the pickup, and I really do think Leon and Tibbs have been on the same page with this one. This is adjusting and adapting to some of these bad losses. With size being a hindrance. Beauchamp is a guy that plays similar to the OG role. Great off-ball defender as well. Gets in passing lanes. Got a really, really big wingspan. Wide frame, as you see. He plays physical as well. It's really just the offense that has got ways to go. But I do think defensively he can be an irritant. And definitely a guy that is going to get steals, deflections, run the floor really well, an athlete. Now, the curious thing I'm looking out for now, guys, is, okay, what does this mean for the rest of the season? Because Beauchamp is eligible to be active for 12 of the remaining 22. Which, obviously he's got to earn his stripes. He's got to, practice. I don't know if he's going to jump anybody in the rotation right now. It's hard to see that immediately. I could see it happening after a few weeks. But, anything's possible. I do think that, like Shamit, for example, Precious, those guys aren't guaranteed minutes. If this guy comes in, he impresses. Let's say he gets a few games, garbage time, looks good. Tibbs likes him. You know, he could get he could get a shot earlier. But for now, I like the word reinforcement because we're going to go into an arms race now, a war, and I do think that having more dependable defenders on the roster with size is exactly what the doctor ordered for this New York Knicks ball club, fam. Um, we all know Deuce McBride's minutes are going to start to go up. As we saw last night, Payne, Shamit are undersized right now. Dolan Wright, we don't know if he's going to stick. He's 6'5", got good defensive instincts and wingspan, but he's undersized as well. So, yeah, we bring in a guy with real positional size now, finally. And could he be the apprentice to Wingstop, fam? He could be the apprentice and learn from these 3-and-D demons. Humberto De La Hoz says, I love how Leon does not listen to Twitter at all. Leon Rose will do what he wants to do. Yep, definitely. No GM should be listening to Twitter because that's not what got him in the position they're in. Dirty Dancer says, you couldn't pay me to listen to Dolan to talk for an hour. There'll be a lot of fans that agree. It's going to be a very, very interesting episode for that one. What's up, Johnny? I'm still buzzing after the Miami win as well, right? Salute to the Cap as well. That solidified player of the week for JB. Right, with the week he had 3-0 now, 5 on the NBA power rankings. So yeah, what do you guys think about the rotation now? Precious Achiuwa is going to be there, situationally. Deuce, campaign, and it looks like Tibs is really, sticking to his guns with Landry, because, some people ask, why did Landry get the nod earlier in the season? But it's clear, Tibbs has always praised Landry, even when unprompted. And it's a case of he's starting to really repay that faith. I would have yanked him out of the rotation a few weeks back, but now I think he's deserving of his minutes. Now, albeit against teams like Miami, Chicago, some of these teams, but against Boston and Cleveland, he did struggle. And so, yeah, the New York Knicks are making plans. Marjon Beauchamp, I do think Chuma Okeke has a really good shot, fam. So the Westchester Knicks will resume tomorrow night. They will resume, and I'm really watching Chuma Okeke's play because he's been great on both sides. Bob Salute says we need a solid 4, a player with height that can move their feet. We need to have power forward that can help out. Precious isn't reliable, but we need to focus on that when we can move in the right direction. I do think, at times Precious has struggled with the rebounding against these bigger lineups. But he's a solid depth piece. So we'll see. He has to be ready when his number's called. But I do think he's out of the rotation after the return of Mitch. The return of Mitch has been really impressive. I love the captain's quotes after last night's big win as well. He says, we're going to keep fighting no matter what, and I'm going to find a way to get the win. I'm going to find a way no matter what. Right, and that's what he did, man. Found OG in Memphis last night. Hit the big threes as well. And I got some key stops as well, drawing charges. And it was our best comeback win of the season. And man, did we celebrate. Grit, learning to grit these, games out. You could say that it's against, inferior opponents, so we should be, taking care of business earlier. But it's always how you finish, not how you start. You can't simulate these games. That's why we play the games, because the underdog always has a shot. You know, the philosophy can't be, yeah, they're a bad team. We've got to beat every bad team. But those teams can be hungry. And that's why we play the games. If we could simulate these games, we would. But it builds character, it builds chemistry, it helps you build cohesion, and go through the lumps, maybe even a bad loss here and there, get the guys fired up, It can't all be sunshine and rainbows, That's what builds character. In the case of guys like Chuma Akeke, Marjon Beauchamp, TJ Warren, look at the character they've built, man. In the case of TJ Warren, man, he's a 32-year-old veteran that's been, to the finals in the bubble, in the playoffs, and he's, put his ego aside and been a loyal soldier in the G League all season. So he's hungry for that chance if he gets it. A guy like Chuma Akeke has been around on a couple of teams, had a really consistent year with the G League, and it looks like he's really showing big signs of development. And he's going to be hungry when he gets his next opportunity, if we do call him up. And in the case of Beauchamp, think about how excited he is going to be, to come now to the Mecca, his third team this season, as the playoffs are about to commence. He's a guy that was traded from the Bucks, who drafted him. Then he had a cup of coffee in LA, and now he's back on the East Coast with the New York Knicks on a two-way deal. He's agent of the Wasserman Group, I think, who the Knicks have had a great relationship with, and have had many other players with that agency. And I do think now that, his agent and him were obviously gauging interest, and the Knicks showing interest, he didn't hesitate to come on board now. And I think it's going to be a great opportunity, for him to correct his career now and get back on that upward trajectory. 6'7", athletic with great wingspan, perfect guy to take a flyer on, man. We saw Quentin Grimes put up 44 points the other night, man. He needed an opportunity, and he's playing with a Philly team that's giving him those reps. As I mentioned before, I don't think Marjon got enough reps in Milwaukee. He just didn't play enough. But he was always highly touted. Great hesitation move, can put the ball on the floor as well. I think he comes with confidence as well, believes in his abilities. Great in transition. I would love to see him alongside Josh Hart. If I'm looking at some potential rotation lineups, Deuce McBride, Campaign, Josh Hart, Beauchamp, and Mitch, I think would be nice. What do you guys think about that? D. Grant says, Okeke would be a good backup power forward. Yeah, I wouldn't. Definitely, I would agree. I think he looks stronger. He looks like he's built up a lot of strength in the G. Wayne says it's sad because if Precious Achiuwa finished well around the rim, he probably would have been in the rotation. I think his play recently dipped a little. I'm not going to lie. It's normal. Sometimes the pressure can get to, a guy, that's in a contract year. I do speak a lot about the business side of this game, guys. It's 50% of the game can be in your head sometimes, and you're thinking about, damn, are my minutes going to go up? My minutes going to go down when Mitch gets back? I need to take this opportunity. My contract's expiring. I got a family to feed. All of these things can factor in. These guys are human. But I think Precious has shown enough significant development with us since coming from Toronto. It's just a matter of, it's just the business. You have to play your best guys, and Mitchie coming back. I really hope Precious understands that we appreciate what he's given, but you got to move aside when a big piece comes back. Yes, he deserves to keep playing based on what he's given us, but it's going to be interesting. I don't think Shamet is penciled in. I think if Shamet has a poor game or two, Precious could enter the conversation. It also could be matchup dependent. What's up, Sandman? We are going to get another 2 more players. I think Moses Brown has a chance, but we don't know yet. We don't know yet. I do think they're going to add another big, though, and I think he would be the front runner. If it was up to me, we do have Mo Bamba still available as well. Also, the dude that we were looking at in the offseason, Omer Yurtseven, is out in Europe all season. He would be eligible to join a playoff team. Omer Yurtseven, because he hasn't played in the NBA this season. And so that could be a sneaky pickup if an NBA club could negotiate a buyout. I'm not sure when the European season ends. They've got different cups and tournaments and that. But, one of these teams could look to him overseas. Mo Bamba, Harlem native. He just doesn't seem to be able to stick on teams. But I would definitely bring him in, in the summer and see what he's got, because we do need to fill out our roster with some veteran contracts. Salute Elliott. Son from Brooklyn. Salute says he can't play in the postseason, though. On the current 2-way contract, he's got 12 more days available. And then I thought when the season ends, he'll become postseason eligible, but maybe not. But the New York Knicks can then cut someone like Dolan Wright if they wanted, and add him on the second last day of the season. So there's still some opportunities to get on the playoff roster. I think nothing's quite set in stone just yet. I mean, Moses Brown kind of is a little bit like Khalil Ware, like we saw last night. He's a real 7'2", and is a guy with amazing wingspan. Like, his shot blocking ability is solid. He's a little slender for a 5-man, but his length is really long, so he makes up for that a little bit. But yeah, he would be the logical decision if I was making that call, fam. But right now, man, today was a good step in the right direction, and I do think we're gonna get an announcement from the next few signings any day now, any minute. One of the reasons why we might be delaying it a little bit, guys, is the longer we wait to sign the veteran free agent, 15th man, the amount of days that we wait allows us to add another player before the season commences earlier, right? So let's say we wait 4 more days. That's about a week after the cutoff. That allows us to cut somebody with a week left in the season and add another player as well. Like I said, it might be Shaman, it might be Dolan Wright, but that would allow us to add, let's say, TJ Warren in a week from now, and then sign Chuma Okeke a week before the season ends, and obviously would have Beauchamp and another 2-way player as well on the roster. So don't forget, Brock Aller, Leon Rose, they're doing all the manipulation, cap gymnastics to get the maximum possibilities out of this. And I think that would be the go-to move, man. If I was the one, I would sign TJ Warren in a few days, and then before the season ends, I would cut Dolan Wright and add Chuma Okeke. That would give us some wing size and defense with Beauchamp and Okeke. It would give us some shooting with TJ. And then the other guy would be Moses Brown that you could add on a 2-way. I think that would be the best outcome. Johnny says, can you give OG another A++ for his tremendous defense last night? Game-winning 3 prior. Big time, man. The DOG has come out in OG right before the playoffs, fam. Just like the bat signal has come out. The biggest pleasing thing last night was that the energy OG was displaying. Look, he looked fresh. He looked energetic. He looked, hyped. And definitely the dog was coming out, the competitor. I think, yeah, these guys are really prideful. They've heard a lot of doubt, a lot of negativity over the last 2 weeks, and some of it justified, some of it deserved because they did stink it up against Boston and Cleveland. And if you do say you want to be a contender and you don't show up, you open yourself for criticism. But what do they got to do now? They got to answer the call, right? They got to prove all of that doubt and prove it to be wrong right now. And I do believe in our mental strength. Um, Guys like Hart, Brunson, winners in college as well. Players like Campaign, played in many, many playoff games, played in their finals. Landry Shamet's been around the block. Mitchell Robinson's been the longest tenured Knick. He's been through hell and back. And now's the time that these guys show that mental fortitude. Rodolfo says, can two-way players play in the playoffs? I was under the assumption, I don't know 100%, and I'm going to look this up, but I was under the impression that they can. Once the season ends, and if they're still on the roster, then the days, the restriction of days end. But I'll double check that right now as we continue buzzing. I do think that it's something worthwhile looking into. Apparently, no. Two-way players in the NBA are not eligible to play in the playoffs. They can only play in regular season games as their contracts specifically exclude them from postseason play. Playoff ineligibility. Due to these limitations, players on two-way contracts won't be eligible to be on the active roster during the playoffs. So if a team would like a two-way player to be eligible for the postseason, they must convert their contract to a standard NBA contract before the regular season ends. Okay, so not all is hope is lost with Beauchamp, because as I say, they could add TJ Warren now, and then in the final week of the season, they could cut Dolan Wright, and they could convert Beauchamp. But for now, they're keeping him on the two-way. So that's something to pay attention to as well. David says Moses Brown and Duarte. Yeah, Duarte is a name that the front office have shown some interest in previously. And, I think the links will continue. He could be a guy that they give one of the two-way deals to as well. Nelly Nell, do the Knicks take a look at Christian Wood? Everything I'm hearing would be Moses Brown would be the front runner, but I think there's a shot that Christian Wood, would be on their radar. He's a stretch big. I just haven't heard any concrete links. So I'm expecting Moses Brown to be the front runner just because he's been in Westchester. There's been that connection. But yeah, I do think we need to get another big. McCullough as well, been playing well recently with Westchester on the two-way contract. He wouldn't be eligible for a playoff spot. So yeah, I'm thinking that a guy like Dolan Wright might not be safe yet. I do think Landry Shamet is probably going to be safe. The fact that he's in the rotation right now speaks in itself that how highly, Tibs thinks of a guy like Landry. But yeah, outside of that, I could only see them cutting Dolan Wright to make way for another veteran. But obviously, we can sign somebody right now without cutting anyone. And I do expect that to be a guy like a TJ Warren. But this Beauchamp deal kind of came out of left field. So I would not be surprised if we found out that it's not TJ. Maybe it's going to be a guy like, PJ Tucker, Victor Oladipo. Maybe a Chris Duarte, a veteran that they feel could come in and play right away. I think that should be the goal because we have one more 15th spot right now, and adding a guy who can come in and play, I think, with experience and be a real difference maker. I think should be the ideal. Um, I wouldn't be mad if it's a big. You never know what could happen with Precious, with Mitch. I think with Huck Porty's, uncertainty, I would definitely be okay with signing a big with that spot. Um, Eddie Alvarez says Beauchamp is the Tibs type player, hungry to prove himself, and he's a hard worker. Yes, 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 yes. I like that. Um, he fits the mold. I'm really pleased with the signing. I've been disappointed with some of the previous two-way signings. Guys that you just felt like from day one they weren't gonna, they weren't really gonna take their opportunities and fit. But this guy looks like it. It's always a safe betting on athleticism, wing size, and defense when you've got Tibs. Um, yeah, I hope McCullough can get an opportunity. Maybe he can make the bench and play in some garbage time minutes. But I think for next season, he's got a bigger shot. I think with just 22 games remaining, it's going to be tough to win a spot. Johnny says, with Moses, TJ, Okeke, who's your 1, 2, 3 preference? So we've got TJ, we've got Moses, and we've got Okeke. It was TJ before the Huck Porty injury, but now I'm going to put it exactly how you have outlined. I'm going to go Moses Brown number 1, TJ 2, Okeke 3. Just because I feel like Okeke is is a solid piece to develop, but more of a longer term thing. TJ is a guy that could come in and help us right now, potential playoff performance. But Moses Brown, I think, is the biggest need because I don't want to play Karl Anthony Towns at the 5 much more. Last night we saw it once again against a not even a great team. And if we're going to face Boston, Cleveland, Orlando, Milwaukee, right? We need extra size, someone to back up Mitch, and then someone obviously to provide more size over Achua. Fam, let us know your thoughts. Great question. D Grant says, CT, you need to get off those older guys. Tucker, he is close to 40. Yeah, that's a fair point. Tucker more so. More so. I'm not a fan of Depot right now. I'm just saying that seems to be the link. But Leon Rose, might surprise us. But with Tucker, yeah, he hasn't played for a while now, and who knows what he has left. But he would be a solid locker room guy. But we need active bodies, so that's a great point. I do think one of the reasons why I would look at Brown, Okeke as well. Also, yeah, the 3 names Johnny mentioned, Okeke, Brown, and TJ, they were all with this squad for various stages throughout this season. So I think that's a major talking point. Brown was signed to a 2-way at one point, was cut. TJ was with us in training camp and Westchester all season. Okeke was with us in training camp. But, obviously Tibbs isn't the one pulling all the strings, Marjon Beauchamp came along and jumped ahead of all of those guys. So that's respect that I have for Leon Rose because he's not just gonna, he's not just gonna go in house. Sometimes if there's a better option, as he should, you have to make that call. And Beauchamp's more of that longer term piece that could really become something. Based on what we've seen, he has higher defensive upside than Pacome Dardier, who was our current draft pick. Eddie says, I want as many dogs coming off the bench as possible. Teams need to fear us again on defense at home. Yeah, last night definitely stirred up a lot of emotions, man. Seeing us grit out a tough win in Miami. That felt like a playoff type atmosphere, man. And guys, seeing OG get chippy, mix it up. I definitely want to see more of that. I can't help but think that Mitchell Robinson is really, really given this club, the locker room a real boost just to see his presence, his character. He doesn't take a back step, diving on the floor, 50-50 balls, another big body that teams have to take account for, like you say. And yeah, I really do think we're on the right path, man. McCullough is a great piece for next season as well. Having him cook with Beauchamp and Okeke in the G League. Another name that I haven't mentioned yet is Johnny Davis, fam. Mixed feelings over Johnny Davis. I did like him in college, not going to lie. Once he got to the NBA, his stock has really, really fallen. What are your thoughts on Johnny Davis, fam? There was a lot of links dating back to that draft. Tibbs was a fan, the rumor was. His offensive game has struggled. He did have his moment against us in preseason. If you remember, in Washington, he hit the game winner. It was garbage time, but he didn't go on with it. He hasn't shown that confidence yet. Johnny Davis is with us now in Westchester, developing now. So the Knicks are putting a lot of eggs in the development basket. We are pressed up against the second apron. If we can get 3 or 4 rotation players out of these young, hopefully hungry dogs, that could be a big, big win for next season, especially with extra size and hustle, right? Look, Cat has changed the identity of our squad offensively, and McCall as well. But with the resurgence of Mitch, and hopefully some other wings to come in the off-season, I think we can get back to last season's gritty play. Michael Drake says, I like Johnny Davis. Nelly says, Johnny Davis is a plug-and-play type guard, doesn't play much D. The thing about Johnny Davis is I think it's his size. Again, he's limiting, He's tenacious. He'll get after it. But again, he's another 6'4" guard. The Knicks have been in love with 6'4" guards, man. I don't know how many there's been. Quentin Grimes, Quickly was 6'3". Even Dolan right now, 6'5". Johnny Davis is 6'4". Shamet, 6'4". I'd love us to get more 6'6", 6'7" guards, 6'8". That's why I like this Beauchamp deal, fam. You see a real difference out there on the court, man. You look at a guy like these other teams, LaMelo Ball, Josh Giddey, these 6'7", 6'8" guards, man, they live in the paint. Because when it comes to going up against the other point guard, they're about 5, 6 inches taller than these other guards, Colby White's another one. Ayo Dosunmu. There's a lot of guards out there with height. And I think that's the way forward now. Right. I love JB. JB's here now. He's a difference maker. But I think that's the old guard, 6 foot guards, point guards, 6'1", 6'2". Things are changing now with the new game. You've got small forwards now in power as a point guard, and then you've got 6'10" guys on the wing now, and power forwards. David says everyone has their moment against us. The thing is, we have a target on our back. We have to rise to the next level. That's why I was putting stock into these bad losses, but I was also confident that we are going to play better because we have been coasting a little bit. Sometimes teams are in 5th gear, 6th gear against us, and we're still stuck in 3rd gear. You see, like last night, we came out of the gate slow. You can't do that in a playoff game, right? From the first quarter, it's war. You have to come out ready. Building Blocks says, why did the Clippers waive a player like this? Yeah, so there's a couple of factors. I was thinking the same thing. In terms of Beauchamp, it could be opportunities. A lot of clubs do work with agents as well. It's the buyout season still, and it could have been a case of, hey, my client would love to, get an opportunity with another club. What are your plans? Clippers could be like, oh, look, we'll love to keep him around for, develop him in the G League, but we've got three guys ahead of him right now. And then it could be like his agent say, okay, look, could you do my client a favor and cut them, and so he could go to New York. That could be a case. Maybe I think the Clippers are pretty stacked with the wing situation. They've got Derek Jones Jr. They've got, they've got Norm Powell. They've got a lot of guys, so that could be a factor as well. But yeah, at the end of the day, Beauchamp hasn't lived up to his hype, but the talent is still there. The tools are still there. So it's by no means a sure thing. It's just simply a great bet. It's a great flyer to take, on a two-way contract. It's a significant talent upgrade over Matt Ryan and a Jacob Toppin. With respect to those guys, because they had their moments on the two ways, but Beauchamp was a former first round draft pick, and he was heavily compared to Quentin Grimes and those kind Jalen Johnsons and those kind of wings. He was in that conversation, when he was coming out. So I think we sink our development coaches into him and a development magic, and it's a great flyer to take. 6'7", 7 feet wingspan, defensive tenacity as well. We've got some trolls in the building. See you later. Keep on buzzing, fam. Angel says, thank you for saying what we were all thinking. No more short guards. Yeah, fam. I think we're seeing it against Boston, Cleveland. I mean, everyone's going to talk about the Luka trade, and obviously that was in a world of its own. But the second biggest trade of the trade deadline was DeAndre Hunter going to Cleveland. Right? I still cannot believe Atlanta gave him up for Karis LeVert, Georges Niang, in 2 seconds. That was highway robbery. It was a fleecing, man. DeAndre Hunter is a starting caliber wing that can put up 30, and they gave him away for a bag of chips, right? And a used piece of gum. I can't believe that. Think of it our way, man. If we had got DeAndre Hunter, let's say we had given up, a pick, Precious Achua, Precious Achua, Landry Shamet, and a pick or a couple of picks, man. DeAndre Hunter would be on this club as a backup wing, maybe even starting in place of McCall. Man, that would put us in, over the top. So that's the kind of thing that it's done for Cleveland. Unfortunately, but look, Atlanta are going to Atlanta, man. They gave up Luka Doncic. This is a club that took Trae Young over Luka, and they're just willingly giving pieces away. Yeah, Nelly says, man, I low-key wish we could have got in on that, man. I'm thinking that right now. I mean, put it this way. If they had asked for Deuce McBride, if that was the hold-up, let us know what you would do, fam. Because DeAndre Hunter on this team would put us over the top, I feel. Not saying he's a world beater. He's just exactly what we needed. And exactly what Cleveland needed, You give up Karis LeVert, so what? He's a streaky 6-man. Georges Niang in 2 seconds. Yeah, like D Grant says, he's an upgrade over Bridges right now. So far this season, it was a fleecing. Says Michael Drake. Yeah, opportunistic. That's why you've got to keep some assets in the cupboard, And again, we go back to the Bridges trade. People can be annoyed and say, yeah, we gave up 5 firsts. That's not the big deal, right? If you give up 5 firsts and it proves to be a great move and Bridges is amazing and you win a chip, it was 100% worth it. But if you give up 5 first-round picks and it doesn't work out, that's when you've got egg on your face, And so I hope it works out. But at the end of the day, if we had kept some assets in the cupboard, again, you never know, man. I'll put it this way, man. Just to be devil's advocate, 5 firsts would have got us Walker Kessler, and it would have got us DeAndre Hunter, man. Now, you could be the biggest Bridges fan in the world, but I'm pretty sure most fans would take Walker Kessler and DeAndre Hunter together exactly on this club. That would put us over the top. Now, Danny Ainge would take 2 firsts for Kessler, and DeAndre Hunter you would have got for 2 firsts. You would have had 1 first left over to maybe go get another piece as well. Dorcosaurus salute says I would take Dyson Daniels over Mikal Bridges right now. Shouts out to the NBL. Salute Dorcosaurus. Yeah, I think Dyson Daniels type player is what this team could do with as well. Yeah, so could a lot of teams. I like the Beauchamp pickup. Let's hope that he can develop. I think Dardier is someone who I think will take a leap. Everything I'm seeing from Pacome Dardier right now, I'm really not worried. I'm not thinking that's what he's going to be and all that. The guy's 19 years old, These players, sometimes they grow up really quick. They grow up fast, Couple of years in the G League, look at Jalen Johnson. He just sort of came up out of nowhere. A lot of these guys, Amen Thompson or Sarah Thompson, it's like 1 minute you're not paying attention and they're kind of like meh. The next minute you see them, it's like, whoa, where did this guy come from? So, yeah, I'm really high on Pacome Dardier, but I'm not really worried about anything I'm seeing right now. The guy's 19. It might take years. But if he continues to work on his game and develop in the G League, I think, that's a good thing. And Drizzy likes Marcus Smart. Yeah, I know the front office did like him as well. I think Bridges is still a very, very useful piece. I'm not giving up on Bridges. I'm just saying, merely transactionally what we gave up and what that could have got you as well. But it was the right move at the time. So again, everyone can play Monday quarterback. But that's why the executives get paid the big bucks, They have to take a leap of faith sometimes. Sometimes it's going to work out. Sometimes it doesn't, But again, the playoffs haven't hit yet. And I think a lot of players are in third gear, fourth gear. When the playoffs hit, I think you'll start to see the players at their best. Ultimately, that's what we're all getting judged on, man. Our playoff games right now. Let Cleveland, let Boston and OKC really start feeling themselves. I think there's some giant killers out there. I think the Lakers could easily knock off any team in the West. The Knicks, you want to see them show more fight, but obviously we have the talent to definitely knock off some of these teams. It's just, the pieces, the depth that they've got is scary. They're a tough matchup. But Mitchell Robinson is going to help a ton. He's not going to be the only solution. I'm really looking to see what Leon Rose does next, fam, as we've chopped up this Marjon Beauchamp acquisition. I think it's a really solid pickup. We can add another big now, hopefully, and another wing. And I think we'll be ready. We'll be ready to, give it our best shot this postseason. But don't forget, in the summer, there will be more shake-up. There will be more improvements on the margins. Tyler Kolek, great pedigree. we don't know what's going to happen with campaign next season. But yeah, I think this is going to be a valuable season for Kolek. You saw him last night on the bench, hyped up, going through the experience. Um, Apparently, Rick Brunson has really been mentoring Tyler Kolek a lot as well. Obviously, put his son through the same ringer, and I think Tyler's going to be stronger for this season's development. And I think next season, yeah, he has a real shot to take on the backup point guard duties. I do think, like we've heard from the organization, they see Deuce McBride as more of a wing, and I think we've seen that this season as well. Deuce has played the 2, the 3. He can play point guard, as we know, but he's a guy that plays alongside Campaign, alongside JB. So yeah, they do see Deuce as more of that wing, and he's thriving. He's shooting catch and shoots, catch and drive, mid-range step back pull-ups. I think that's given Deuce more freedom to expand his offensive game. I think if we pencil Deuce McBride as a point guard, we might not be seeing the level of offensive game that's coming out in Deuce McBride. I think it's given him the freedom to be aggressive, play alongside another ball handler, and be that wing. A wing in a point guard's in a guard's body. But he's tenacious enough defensively and strong enough that we don't really get killed. Let's say Deuce can guard a DeAndre Hunter. He can guard a Jaylen Brown on some possessions, and stymie him on the perimeter. But yeah, guys, after last night, seeing OG and Deuce at the point of attack, I can't help but think that that's the best avenue moving forward now, in these tougher matchups. You can deploy Bridges with the bench more, and you can also have him playing, guarding as a help defender, on the wings, on the corners as well. He's been put through a lot of screens this season and struggled at times. But when OG was getting in that defensive stance, ready to lock up, man, it was a pretty sight. He had Tyler Hero in a straitjacket. Luke C, great to see you, says if OG goes down in the playoffs, Bridges is the best option. He can rise to the occasion. Yeah, we are going to see a lot of, opportunities for him to step up, and show that fortitude. Playoff big player kind of player in college. He struggled against some of the better teams in the East so far, but yeah, I am still confident that Bridges can step up. I think where people are more discouraged is a lack of consistency at times, but we know what he's capable of. We'll put high because we understand what he can do. He came in with high expectations. I think everyone will be fine and happy if he was the Phoenix Mikal Bridges. But he's 28 now. He's a little older. Things have changed. He might just have to refine his game. Davis says, does Marjon change our chip chances? I think it's a case of more a future-oriented move, but at this current stage, he's not playoff eligible until they end up cutting someone. So we'll see if that plays out. But right now, he'll be able to play in 12 of the remaining 22 games. I think they'll use that to get a look at him, and then they'll make a decision whether it's DeLon Wright or him. Who do we take into the playoffs? The experience of DeLon Wright or the size and length of Beauchamp. So I think they haven't made a decision just yet. Otherwise, they would have added Beauchamp to a real deal. But the two-way, it gives them an opportunity to see him practice and make a call. But, this guy was in demand. It would have been a lot of teams interested. The fact that he's chosen the Knicks are interested, does speak highly. And the Knicks do, have big plans for a guy like him. If you look at the trend, all of our recent signings have been very defensive oriented. Johnny Davis, Marjon Beauchamp now. I think they are looking for a guy that can come in on the perimeter and be a factor. We have seen the struggles at times. Also, when OG was out against Boston, it was a struggle. Jonathan says, do you think Duarte gets the other two-way slot? Yeah, that would be a good shout. I think the other two-way spot could be Okeke, Moses Brown, or Duarte. It could be one of those guys. The main signing I think could be TJ Warren just because of the age. But again, that everyone seems to think it's going to be TJ Warren. It could be a surprise. It could be another guy that just gets cut. And Drizzy says, I wonder why Beauchamp couldn't get minutes on the Clips. Yeah, I think they're just stacked. They've got Derek Jones. They've got players like Norm Powell as well. It could just be a case if he wants to be on the East Coast, family. Could be, more opportunities with the Knicks. We don't have as many backup wings. All of these factors go into it. If you're the agent. It could have been the Knicks brass really, just really aggressive, Players want to feel wanted as well. If you're with a club and you're not sure whether they're going to give you opportunities or keep you around, and you got this other playoff team saying, nah, we really want you, if you get cut, we're gonna grab you. Then, you're going to go to the agent and say, nah, I want to go to the Knicks. Luke says, I recall in social medias, people didn't think Tatum and Brown would work. It's just year one for OG and McHale. Patience, Knicks Nation. It's tough at times, man. Blood pressure goes up, hype goes up. Playoffs is going to be insane. But yeah, it's only been one season, like you said. But we want to see consistency. Want to see durability as well. I think McHale has the credibility of durability. He's always available. We like that. Hope that his, play on both ends can continue to get better, and we'll see. I do think sometimes Tibs is playing him too much, as well. That's why last night spreading the love between Deuce's 30 minutes, Bridges 28 minutes. That's better. At the very least, split their minutes. Keep them hungry, keep them fresh. And we were the fast finishing team last night because players were more healthy, more ready, more fresh, and more healthy with the knee situation as well. Players like OG and Hart, I think they are a bit more irreplaceable than Bridges, because Hart's the heart and soul of the team. When we missed him, we didn't look like the same team. When OG was out as well, we got smoked by Boston. So, that's why I like this Beauchamp pickup, really. Whether it's later this season or for next season, he could be a guy that slots in as the real OG backup, McHale backup, And also, does Hart play with some minutes off the bench too, with Mitchie getting back more healthy? That's something to look out for as well. Like Andrizzi says, with the shooting, that could be a factor for Hart to play more minutes off the bench. I really like the Deuce minutes, man, next to JB. He gives you the defense and he gives you the shooting. You saw it opened up driving lanes for JB, late in that game. Also, as I keep saying, fam, the other team is going to blitz Brunson down the stretch. Eric Spoelstra's biggest mistake last night was that they didn't get the ball out of Brunson's hands, and he killed them. Why couldn't they do that? Because Deuce McBride was hitting shots all game, and Deuce was out there on the floor as well, who's capable of playmaking and putting the ball on the floor, right? if you don't have Deuce out there and you've just got Hart and Bridges and OG with Cat or Mitch, you don't have another really strong point guard ball handler that can make plays outside of Hart. And then sometimes that's what the other team wants because Hart can't shoot as much as the others. And then the shot clock goes down. But when Deuce is out there, if JB gets trapped, you've got spacing, you've got ball handling and playmaking as well. So I think that really works well. We'll see if Tibs continues to go that way, man. But I think this has been like the third season now that Deuce has really been a factor in Tibbs's rotation now. I think, he's got another year to run on the contract, another year or two. This is the time where I think Deuce McBride can really, with this playoff performance coming up, I think this is a chance for Deuce McBride to become a household NBA starter. Some players have been known as bench players and then they take a step and it's like they're not a bench player anymore. They deserve to start. And I think we might end up seeing that. By the time this season is done, we might be saying to ourselves, no, Deuce McBride is an NBA starter now, right? It happens. Sometimes players put in the work, they take their opportunities and they're ready. And, just because your roster is constructed a certain way, you shouldn't hold the player back. If they're ready and they put in the work, they deserve to step up. And like last night, 30 minutes was glaring. You couldn't ignore the fact that Deuce is outplayed many Knicks at times, Bridges especially, like last night. If he continues to get those reps, and he's consistent with it, how can you take that away from that player? They deserve to continue to be in that spot. So it's going to be fascinating. It's kind of it's an okay headache to have because it means you've got a player that's putting pressure on another player. They're putting they're creating healthy competition as well. And look, right now, I think Deuce McBride, if you put his minutes alongside Quickly's and production, I think the Knicks made a great call, to keep Deuce around and trade Quickly. The potential, the ceiling is higher or just as high. With that said, so yeah, like Andrews said, just like Quickly, he's outplayed the bench role. Yeah, that could happen. I don't think the organization. I don't think fans should pencil Deuce as just a bench player and a six man, because he's young enough to one day be a starter. And that might be happening sooner rather than later. It is a little undersized backcourt, but you look at his toughness, tenacity, and you look at Cleveland, who have got Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland together. They've seemed to be able to work it out. I think our bigger front court could really, balance it out, with Cat and Mitchell Robinson from next season. You've got Deuce and Brunson at the point of attack. And then you push OG to the 3. Maybe it makes Mikal Bridges' trade expendable. Maybe he's happy coming off the bench. We'll see. But one thing's for sure, the clock is ticking if you continue to hold Deuce back, because his contract is going to end at some point. And we all know that he's going to get a significant pay rise, right? So that could go into it. The club could be a little worried if they start Deuce and he outshines his contract, then he's not going to be able to stay, or he might not be able to stay. So yeah, that's a bigger factor we have to look out for. Luke C says Deuce with JB against the Celtics may be too much to ask. Other than that, run it. That could be the case, man. But also, if you remember the third quarter against Boston, that was the lineup that helped us get back into the ball game, because Deuce is a ball hawk at the point of attack, defensively. Our two best players at fighting over screens is OG and Deuce McBride. So you make the case that those are the best two to have at the point of attack. That's factoring in size as well. Deuce can just get over screens, Uh, Nelly Nell says Deuce's stock has risen every year. Yeah, that's the sign as well that the player is just on an upward, trajectory, and you don't know when and if it's going to stop. Sometimes they just keep going and keep going, and then they end up, a household NBA starter. You could look at, an example. What's a really good example of maybe a Deuce McBride career trajectory? Um, Maybe a good and bad example, but Jordan Poole, you know, he's a polarizing kind of player. But let's not forget, Jordan Poole was like, he was a bench piece with Golden State. He got an opportunity and he took it, and he became a $30 million man. And now Jordan Poole's looked at as only an NBA starter. He's not looked at as a bench player. That could be the goal for like Deuce McBride, where he takes his chance, gets a big contract, and he's an NBA starter now. Jonathan says, "Hope we get Moses though as insurance." Yeah, 100%. I would love us to sign another big. I thought we were okay with Huck Porty, but once the injury happened, I think that changed a lot. Because Huck's going to be reevaluated in 4 to 6, so we don't know if he's even going to be ready. Andrizzi says Deuce is like an Alex Caruso. That's a good comparison as well. Career comparison. Malcolm Brogdon, remember, was sixth man of the year. He beat quickly. Then kind of Brogdon has become a starter for a minute in his career if injuries didn't derail. But yeah, also some championship teams do have that fifth, sixth man where it's like you could play either or, the sixth man gets 30 minutes regardless. We've seen a lot of championship teams where the sixth man, Manu Ginobili, I think, is a great example, man. We all know Manu was a starter with the Spurs, but, he was perfect coming off the bench, But when you split the minutes, it really don't matter. Some players start, some players finish. You have to be flexible. The biggest thing, if you're the coach, you have to just play the best players that are playing well at the time. Play the in-form players, regardless of contract, regardless of politics, optics, and all of that. I can understand at the start of a season, and you give guys opportunities first because they're higher up in the hierarchy. But when it's money time and the playoffs are hit, you should, as an organization, you should only have one goal, which is how can we win the championship? Whatever it takes for us to win. And players have to put their egos aside, man. They're all getting paid millions of dollars, unless they're a free agent playing for a contract, then I understand. But outside of that, you should be if you're on the bench, then you should be rooting like hell for your teammates, because you're still going to win a ring. Bob says we need a serious evaluation. Knicks are 40-20. We're in a good place for a team that is playing its first year. 3 new starters. We have to be aggressive and feed off that. Yeah, this kind of has been an evaluation year as well, but with high expectations. So they're kind of doing everything on the fly right now. Yeah, unfortunately, they are going to be judged on whether it's first round exit, second round, third round, just based on last 2 seasons, If the Knicks were like a fringe playoff team for the last few years and we made these moves, and everyone would have a little bit more patience. But the fact that even though we made all these moves in the summer, the fact that we've been a second round playoff team for 2 years before this one, I think has definitely, contributed to higher expectations, and that we've got to take that next step. Tibbs has been here for 6 years now, 5th year. So I think that's played a factor in it as well. But, they are making moves, to address the needs. Let's see if Moses Brown or Okeke, TJ, maybe another veteran ends up shaken loose, but Marjon Beauchamp was available. We pounced, and it gives us positional size, versatility. Two-way contract, eligible for 12 more games. We'll see what happens, man. Maybe they do some lineup gymnastics to fit him into the playoff roster. But for the future, it was a great pickup. High upside swing, NBA experience, and I like it. So we'll go live if there's more moves. Tomorrow night we're in action at home against the Dubs before we hit the road. But it's been a pleasure, all. Hope everyone's had a blessed day. Big up to the chat and Knicks family. Keep the streets buzzing, and let's see what happens next, man. 15 more games, 15 more wins to 55, right? If we go 15-7, we'll get to 55 wins, the highest winning season since the 90s, fam. That would eclipse the 54 win Mike Woody team. What do you guys think? Are we going to eclipse the 54 Woody team? If we go 14-8, we would tie it. If we go 15-7, we would eclipse that season. I think we will eclipse it. I guess it's going to depend on what happens on this road trip, 5-game West Coast trip. If we do come out 3-2, I think that'll set us up as the games become slightly easier after that West Coast trip. If we can go 3-2, 4-1, I think that would really help. But yeah, I think we're on track, man. Maybe get that second seed if Boston take their foot off the gas a little. We are just 2.5 games back, but 5 games ahead of the 4th seed. So we have some cushion there as well. Take care, everyone. Peace.